Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Cold Feet Podcast. I am privileged to have Geva, otherwise known as
Yes.
Sensa
Geva Makovsky.
Geva Makovsky, who is so busy training people that we couldn't bring him to the ice bath in
Took
Jerusalem.
about a year to find a schedule.
So I said, Geva, I want to hear so much what you have to say. I'm going to go to you in Givat Shmuel here in the center of Israel. So, Geva, the mic is yours, figuratively and literally. Please tell us what is up in life.
What's up in life?
Yeah, you can hold that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah? Okay. What's up in life is a good question, you know. But we're here to talk about a lot of subjects, and for me it's not always easy, as I'm my worst critic, and to think about other people are going to hear it, and it's not going to be one-on-one, and let's say I would not feel that I'm 100%, so it's definitely important for me to try to reach as many people as possible in the end. For a lot of subjects we're going to talk today. Of course, we're going to start with feet, and I think this is more than anything, you know. You should you should do a podcast called the Display, another, you know, specific that you invite people with crazy display or weird deformations. I think something that a lot of people should experience being barefoot, beside the many health benefits, it's something that humbles you, and I think teaches you how to be a better person and notice where you are in your surroundings and notice other people and really care about things that otherwise I don't think you will pay that much attention. And I think as a martial art teacher and a fitness trainer, the main thing is that something we're going to talk about David Weck today, that he talks about make mankind again, make people treat other people in kindness, and not only teach them how to use their body so they're going to look good. You want to teach them to how to use their body, they're going to feel good and help other people feeling good, and in the end of the day pass the knowledge to everybody, you know, not being the goose with the golden egg. That's the way to say it, right? Because I think in the industry everybody say, oh, we have the knowledge, I know everything, and forget about this or forget about that. I'm not going to mention dropping names, but there are people that say, oh, this is bullshit, and trust me, I know everything. I think it's a mixture, and for me in martial arts as well, I'm a mixed martial artist, so everybody say what's the best martial arts. So there's not one specific discipline is going to be the best. It depends about the person, but in the end, if you want to be an expert in movement, you got to experiment. But you have got to have that base, you know. I think in our daily life, everybody has a lot of information, but they don't have the knowledge. They see a lot of things online, and they cannot choose what's right for them. So it's hard to decide where to go and find that the right base. And yeah.
Yeah. So being a role model, I think Eva here mentioned, is such a crucial thing, because when you're a trainer or a coach, or in this day and age, almost every trainer or coach becomes I don't like the term, but a fitness influencer pretty quickly. Why? Because the second you have a few thousand followers, people are learning from you. Which means that if you're a good trainer and you understand the body, but you're a shitty human being, or you're not practicing what you preach, and you're not encouraging a healthy, holistic lifestyle, people are going to be confused. So exactly as Geva said, on point, when you train or coach people, you want to make sure that you're teaching them to become better human beings. Just because they're strong or functional or muscular, whatever their goals are, it won't be the big picture. Now, because you mentioned feet splay, I have spoken about barefoot on every single one of my podcasts, because that's just where the conversation goes. But here's what's different. Geva, like myself, is also what I would call a barefoot performance coach. Is that a allowed terminology? Meaning he understands. I'm going to let him talk. Barefoot performance, take it away.
For me, in order to be an optimal human being, you want to bring yourself back to where you're supposed to be. Western world, Western medicine, Western shoes. In the end, people use shoes that restrict them and help them do the function that the foot are supposed to do naturally. And I'm not exaggerating, 99.9 the people that I train have some kind of a problem. Nobody has a full understanding what their feet are capable of. And I'm talking about elite performance athletes, and it's crazy. And it's usually those small details, if you change. And again, I'm gonna bring back David Beck because that guy is a big influence in the last year of the direction that my teaching went. It's making every step stronger and focusing first of all helping people to connect to the ground and stand correctly, then walk, then run, then throw, then do other things. But I think a lot of people are too fast to do things that our body are not capable from. They add strength on this function, so they 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 come after they are so regular used to bad movement or bad habits, and it takes them years to change it. And I think that's why you need to educate kids for that from a small age. And it will bring me, and something that just happened to me yesterday. I saw my nephew, 8 years old, and I saw he has a hammer toe. I was shocked. He's a swimmer, so he swims a lot. My big brother is a professional swimmer. So, but it's crazy to see in that age a hammer toe that's already not. It's crazy. So I think we can save a lot of people fit and health by just adding those small details that people just think how they walk, how they stand, how their feet, if they can wiggle their toes. 60-70% of people, if you try to do this at home, you're probably not going to be able to do this. I have people that you say right leg, they do the left. You say the left, they do the right. It's simple things for changing direction, just moving your way towards your toes. So it's those small details. Rotating your tibia, shifting, and we're going to talk that about in a few seconds, I'm sure. But I think if you're not connected here, everything else is not going to work optimal. Even if you're not suffering from pain, it's definitely optimal. Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I think that what's responsible for a kid having hammer toes and a bending is not necessarily one thing, but kids start wearing shoes at just about 2. And here's the sad part. At 2 is the age they start walking. So before you even give them a chance to develop,
the arch is not developed. They have until the age of 5 to develop the arch. So you're already restricting the natural build. I don't remember the exact number because I'm not with the numbers, but there's a lot of more bones when the kid.
33 bones.
It's more in the adult human, but when it's kid, it changes through the years. The joints and the bones. So it needs to change and develop. The arch just develops at the age of 5 or 6. So a lot of kids you see like even X legs or O, depending, because this changes when they grow. So if they already give them some restriction or special shoes or this, they're already not letting the body adjust naturally. So those people come to me when they're 20, 30, 40, even 60, 70 years old with issues that they never were able to solve because the doctors say, oh, you have to cut and you have
motor
to
control.
But nobody is talking about weight. Let's if you treat the whole body as one unit, you can solve the problem. Western physiotherapy, they say, oh, we treat the ankle, we treat the knee, we treat it. Nobody talks about the whole kinetic chain, and starting from here.
So takeaway number 1 is, if you're a parent or if you're a coach, you want to make sure that you're letting your kids spend as much time barefoot as possible, especially when their foot, knee, ankle complex are developing. Sure. If you're worried about glass and poop, which is understandable, that's what most society is. I'm less worried about that. I just stepped in the glass floor, nothing happened, surprise.
I grew up, man, getting cut and that when you learn how to walk.
Yeah.
And you you almost step in, but you stop yourself almost before. If you don't have that, every time that you step wrong, with even with a drop, with the heel, you're gonna sprain your ankle. But it's different when you learn how to walk. You respect the surface. It's different.
You learn how to absorb the force of your body. So grass, just the kid's arch is developing. He's getting wobbly. That's okay. Let him wobble around on grass, on dirt. Let him play, roll around, lick dirt. Nothing will happen. Bottom line, let your kid spend as much time barefoot possible, even if you don't want to make that switch to minimalist footwear. Now, because Geva keeps on running around the WEC method, and we'll get Goda in there maybe as well. What in the world is the WEC method? What are these alternative training methods, and how does it work for your day-to-day, for your clients as well, for you?
I think most Western fitness talk about too much about just the Sagittar plane, which is just this plane of motion. Usually nobody talks about how to really move functional to specific sports. I see professional jiu-jitsu guys or MMA guys do things that, right, it's gonna make you stronger, it's gonna improve.
Can you give an example?
In many cases, even pushing sleds a lot or battle ropes is not gonna be 100% transferred functionally. Okay, pushing sleds is good, but you know what? battle ropes, most cases, I think it's a waste of time for most athletes. Depending how to use it, you know. Lifting heavy, snatches, clean jerks, which I totally respect. I think doing it, doing it asymmetrical, unilateral. I think it's not gonna be transferred as much. If you do it unilateral, it's being transferred much better for performance. You know
you're
what I
saying
mean?
like a dumbbell snatch will carry over better than a barbell snatch.
I will be more of a landman guy and
Right.
a
But I get
kettlebell
the-
guy.
right.
You know.
Yeah.
You see, I don't have a squat rack here.
Yeah.
I try to focus specifically on that when I don't have that, and you know. But the WEC method, or specifically training the coil, it's something that connected. Something I am doing for a few years is moving through the fascia, which the fascia connects different sides of the body. You know, the opposite.
Yeah.
So you have posterior, anterior, you have lateral, you have superficial, you have the spiral fascia, and in the end, for example, you have the lats, which is the big muscle here, and the glutes, the glute medius, which is the muscle here, and you have the fascia that connects both sides, and that's the posterior obliques, and you have the anterior, which is it's here in the oblique, and the fascias connect here. So you don't want to just train one part, you want to train both areas together, so they learn how to move the weight for boxing, for kicking, for throwing, for everything. And I think in many cases, if you don't train that specifically, most people are not going to perform and going to get injured. Like the iliotibial band, which a lot of people get injured, they just don't train the lateral chain, so they're going to get injured. Lower back, bad hips. And another approach that I use a lot is the joint by joint approach, which is from it's very simple to explain because it's from one segment to another, one joint to another. When the foot is usually more stable, the ankle is supposed to be mobile. The knee, it's more of a hinge, so it's more stable, more stability. Hip and pelvis area, hip and pelvis joint, it's more mobile. 5 vertebrae stability, 12 vertebrae T-spine, which connects us to 12 ribs. It's mobility, which is usually people don't have that mobility. When they breathe, the ribs don't come up. When they move from side to side, a lot of people, even when they walk, because this is not mobile and this is not stable, and the glute medius is weak. So you see how you have weak. The hips go from side to side, and the vertebrae, the hip vertebrae, the L vertebrae, you have instability there. You know what I mean? So, and the neck, the lower vertebrae of the neck, it's stability. The upper neck, more upper is mobility. Scapula is stability, which holds the shoulder, and shoulder mobility. Elbow stability, mobility, stability. So once you first isolate each joint and make sure each section does what it needs to do, then you try to connect the dots to complex movements. Yeah.
So I know Geva went here on what we call the joint by joint approach. Putting it in layman's terms, it's just looking at the body and realizing that certain areas are meant to be more stable. They're meant to be holding in place of sorts, or they don't lack a large range of motion, whereas certain joints like the shoulder or the hip have massive ranges of motion in almost everything you do. Now, I haven't gone down the WEC method rabbit hole. I have seen my colleague here, Geva, doing lots of it, and I follow these guys on Instagram. I see their methods, and because I train athletes, I understand what they're getting at, and correct me if I'm wrong, but what I understood is that the Western approach to training is very largely based off the bodybuilding world. Now, the bodybuilding approach is, let me train this muscle. Powerlifters came along and said, let me take a few main movements, which kind of tackle maybe 30 to 40% of what the body, push, pull, squat, and let me train it for max strength. And then like other movements came along like CrossFit or MoveNat or movement, which said, hold up, we're not trying to train muscles here, we're trying to train movement patterns. And then everything started making a lot more sense because it's like, I want to be functionally good at something. Then 100%. WEC method, Goda, all these like locomotive guys are like, stop. Even knees over toes guy, we're not trying to train movement patterns. I mean, we are, but we're not trying to progress in weight in a movement pattern. We're trying to master a movement pattern. That's what I understood from WEC method, is that it doesn't matter whether I can lift 100 kilo in a rotational strict Palov press. It matters, can I rotate efficiently in a perfect form?
It's less
in
scalable than that how much you weight you did, how many repetitions you did. It's so for a lot of people it's hard because how I'm gonna measure if I progress, because I'm not really using weight or more repetitions or rate. I recovered faster. I'm trying to master this specific movement of transfer from my weight from one side to another, from simple move for walking and running, sprinting. So my head is going to be over the foot, and I'm moving my T-spine, moving my hips, moving my ankles, everything working together. Everything that has to be mobile is mobile. Everything has to be stable is stable. Hands are being springs that's moving the feet are moving the hands. Everything is, and once this is happening, everything that I'm going to do is going to be better. I don't have to just sit in a machine. Now, I like adding bodybuilding, and I think you should be good at the beginning at certain ranges and isolate to understand them, and then start connecting for sure. But movement and the work method and functional patterns, which he likes to say, this is more of other approaches usually. But everything is amazing. But I think it's not one thing, Knees over toes guys, Ben, which is an awesome guy, but again, it's not.
It's my way or the highway. You have to be willing to explore.
For sure, you have to willing to explore and see what's important for you. And if you're more a performance athlete, so there's things you have to explore. If you're a fitness trainer and you don't understand the locomotion and how to improve somebody's way of walking and standing, I think you should go back to the basic and see where things went wrong. Because just teaching how somebody just to bench press and that, you're not, in the end, you're not bringing somebody to their full potential. And you can, because if you understand movement and you love the profession, you're gonna go back and you're gonna learn that. You know what I mean? And even bodybuilders, you can be a bodybuilder and you can be functional, you can move and you can be flexible and you can do everything if you invest your time correctly. And the time is the most important thing that you have. So you train 4-5 times a week and you're not investing in your mobility and ranges of motion and controlling your body, so just showing everybody that you look a certain way, we're meant to climb trees and do whatever we want with our body. And I think if you use it, you're not going to lose it. Yeah?
I think function and performance always go hand in hand with muscular strength and muscle. Like if we look at the Tarzan of old, right? He was the first monkey. He was jacked.
There's one guy that does that. I forgot his name. I saw.
The that guy?
No, there's somebody on tree.
Tarzan guy.
He's like
he walks like a gorilla. I think you sent it to me. Is that someone
crazy,
else?
Man. It walks like a gorilla, but I'm telling you, jumping like serious
Amazing.
distance from one tree to another. Like what?
So you don't inherently have to be the new Tarzan, but if you look at cartoon Tarzan, he has big muscular pecs, he has big arms, he has the classic big bicep, he has big quads. They got that right. They always forget the big muscular quads and hamstrings in cartoon characters. But like, if bodybuilding is at one end of the spectrum, and if functional training and all these like alternative methods are the other end of the spectrum, the average human being could come in the middle. When you train for function and performance, you will get muscular. You will get strong, obviously, depending on your body fat levels. You may get leaner, you may get stronger. But I think that's another topic, and we'll also dive into keto. The perfect 10-pack lean figure that the bodybuilding world and the Western Hollywood world has pushed, it doesn't mean you're strong or healthy. In fact, most lean people are not that healthy, especially in the athletic world.
You need a bit of fat to protect the joints, and it's healthier to have a little fat than being skinnier, that's for sure. And you're going to be stuck in nature, and if you used to drink your protein and that every 2 hours, 3 hours, I've got to eat you first if something going to happen, you know what I mean? Like, you need to learn how to survive. You need to make your body push to the limit of survival. Otherwise, your defense mechanism and your immune system get weakened because you're used to support it about things that our body doesn't really need it, We don't need to eat every 2-3 hours. Right. Like everybody, you don't need most food that are in support, more supplements, more things. Like everybody are trying to be better human beings with things they don't need because there's the basics. Get your sun at least 20 minutes a day, when the sun is around 12, it's supposed to feel, for my opinion, common knowledge. This is the healthiest.
No, you got to put that sunscreen on, man.
no, but you don't. You know what I mean? No, that's crazy. For me, it's crazy that it's things people don't know because the sun is scary. This is bad. This is bad. You have a problem in your food, put something on your food. You have this, take that pill. You have this, take that pill. Nobody is, and it's a good time maybe to say I'm how to say it. Otherwise in English I don't know, but in Hebrew say mitmoded nefesh. But I'm bipolar. I deal with manic depression. So nobody said there's a way to treat it. It's gonna put us into keto because of that. But Nobody ever says that there's a cure. You have to take a pill for this and a pill for that. Otherwise, you're screwed. This is for all your life, and you have a problem, and it's a disability, and most people cannot get a job, and this and that. They label you. But I think, and bring it back to nutrition, we can talk about keto for that.
Before we jump into keto, I just want to like kind of wrap up some of the training philosophies we're dealing with. So we spoke about like bodybuilding, we spoke about the WEC method, which is, can you describe it in just one sentence what it is? Exploring rotational movement patterns, is that the right?
Improving your coil, the weight transfer from one side to another. Improving more than anything your lateral chain, but it's really getting that spring from one side to another and improving that weight transfer 100% for your punch, for your
throws,
lift, for your throws, for everything. It's almost anything, for your sprint, for almost anything.
Right.
And it's a few sequences that improves that, and I think the transfer for all those, it's just the best that I saw. And it's again moving through my fascia, moving through those muscles that are meant to work together to create that movement. And once I play around those, I can do it throwing a ball. I can do it with different ways and just approaching that, and it's endless.
If you need a visual, you could definitely look up the WEC method on YouTube or on Instagram. Yep. I think that the WEC method philosophy works fantastic, but it doesn't mean he likes dissing other philosophies, right?
No.
Oh, he doesn't. He's open to it.
That's why I think he's the one guy. He doesn't disses, but he tried to separate himself. Again, he's a genius. He invented the Bosu. For example, for RMT clubs, he has these on flow. He has a few inventions that's special for him. Right. I just got the new deck. I don't know if you saw it.
Deck, I did.
It's interesting, exploring those angles that nobody else does.
Right.
Like
Goda kind of touched upon that. We'll get to Goda in a second.
They
the same philosophy.
Again, from out and in, out and in, using that. You see the WEC logo. It's because walking and running, everything is a hard circle inside. Everything. It's not a sagittal way of moving.
There is once again, you don't have to be obsessed with one philosophy. I think that if you still want to squat heavy and do the WEC method together, I think it works. It's interesting because when I did Goda for a while, and I was also using it for my athletes, like the internal external rotation and working on it, I did notice improvement. Also in our videographer here is also a phenomenal athlete. I did notice how her running better. But the only problem is that Goda and WEC will both say, stop training conventionally. Like, don't do regular squats. They're bad for you. Which is like, hold up. What if I can do regular squats, but then in my mobilizations, reverse the damage of always putting the hip out into external rotation? You know what I mean? So what if I can, work?
I agree. You can't just be just in this angle, that, and depending on what you want to do, But again, this is commercializing. They want to be their own special, sell the products and everything. Yeah. So this is basically that. And in many ways, and I have my own products which I sell now only for my trainees, but I don't want to push something that I don't 100% believe in, And
of course.
You don't need those tools. You need the knowledge. Tools is nothing. You don't need nothing to train. You just need your body and the right knowledge and your own pair of feet. You have a good leg workout, and once you do a workout barefoot, if you never did it, it's a whole new experience, and it's different. Train barefoot, it's train your feet. First of all, you can do specific exercise, but train barefoot is train your feet, 100%.
Every workout is definitely a foot workout. Even today on the beach, we were playing frisbee, spike ball. What else were we doing? I don't remember. Soccer, whatever you name it, running, biking. I was actually biking with my barefoot pedals, the Togo pedals. I'll show you a picture of those. But you're working on the sand, and your toes and your arch and your ankle are working extremely hard to stabilize you, whereas a lot of people, they roll their ankles in the sand because they're so used to wearing cushioned shoes. The second they go on any surface that's different from what they're used to, they suddenly roll their ankles. When it comes to, once again, the WEC method we spoke about, the Goda method is similar concept. It's about coils. It's about getting correct me if I'm wrong, you're getting your hip into internal rotation. Correct?
External to internal. If you see sprinters, slow motion sprinters, you see how the hips going from out and in. Tibia is going out and in. Right. Pronation, supination, pronation, supination, supination. From one side to another, from one side to another. It's not this. Right. You see Western runners do this, which it's from one side to another. Really use my QL muscle, really shifting through my lateral chain, and you feel that it's different. You just get much more explosive out of you, and when you start to see those patterns, you see it everywhere. Baseball runners, sprinters, everywhere. They're not even noticing, but you gotta do it. something Weck talks about a lot, and I like to talk about that a lot. When we are born, we're born with our hands out.
Yeah.
You know, in anatomy, the hands is here. In Western anatomy, Chinese, the hands are here, but it's always outside. So we need to open our body, open our torso to create more movement. You know, it's not just this. It's this. You know, even in boxing, when I throw an uppercut, when how the movement is going from one side to another, because everything it's slim. When this is short, this is long. This is short, this is long. And once you train that, you cannot unsee it. You know what I mean? But most people don't do it. They just do push and then just pull. Nobody thinks about how. Now it's good. It's not. It's bad. But what's gonna happen when I'm gonna do everything together and I just focus on that? You know?
Right. Like throwing, let's say, like I come from like a football, I coach the national team with football. So let's say our quarterback throwing, it's not a pushing movement, it's not a pulling movement, and to call it strictly a rotation movement, you can't move either because every throw is going to come out slightly differently. Yeah. So by exploring movement patterns over just weight progression, you're allowing the carryover to be much higher. That when she suddenly does that sidearm throw, hey, I explored that position before. I do an overhead throw, hey, I explored that position before. So I, in my own personal workouts, I've been experimenting with so many different, partially inspired by you, I've been experimenting with so many forms of rotation because I play ultimate frisbee a lot. So I throw like that, and I throw like that, and I throw like that, and all these different angles. I'm like, whoa, I see how the carryover of doing all this funky stuff in the gym is carrying over to my throw. Last up, we spoke about Goda, we spoke about Weck method. So knees over toes. Now, I'll just intro this. There's a lot of controversy about anybody who goes viral. Why? Because when all the love comes the hate, right? Anytime I put up a post that goes viral, they'll be like, oh, you're putting on dramatic. You're pretending you're unstable in a squat wearing shoes. Okay, guys, whatever. You want to hate, no problem. Have a nice day. Lots of love to go around in the world.
I need to take more videos at gyms. What I see, you know, it's like it's.
So like knees over toes. Yeah,
it's hard.
Sorry.
No.
Knees over toes. Ben Patrick, super popular method. I think he was one of the pioneers in like helping. Also, CrossFit did that. Also, movement did that. I just spoke like Israeli. Also this. But like helping change the mainstream. Like push your hips out. Do this, must brace like this. He's like, oh, what if my spine could extend this way? What if my knees couldn't do this? And he started questioning the norm, which made this whole, I wouldn't say copycats, but it kind of broke into this chain like, let me create a niche, which I could also sell equipment with, whispering, sleds.
Sure, his
right?
boards are expensive as hell,
right, so like, knees over toes, go ahead, take it away.
Yeah. Well, Ben Patrick, knees over toes guy, which I think the pioneer of really pushing the boundaries of what Western fitness talks about as it's basically not letting your knee passes your toe line when you squat. He tries to make himself unique, you know, and like even make a joke of it sometimes and do extreme things and look, I can do this and I can do that, and but his approach is of course, but his marketing is a good guy and he does everything himself, so it's not it's hard not to appreciate him. And he has like 1.7 million today. He answers most message from the beginning, like when I texted him or tagged him in something, he answers, which is a lot. Again, like he's a good dude, you know.
Solid dude, yeah. You
so
have to be.
But he pushes how our body can go to those end ranges and be comfortable there and not be like you know Joel Sinderman, I think it's the name. He's just the opposite, you know. He talks about only 90-degree angles and only eccentrics and unilateral and usually in things like that, which again, he's right. Most athletic performance requires those 90-degree angles. You don't require those full ranges, again, but it depends. For me, in jiu-jitsu, I need those full ranges. In most other sports, you don't, but you need to learn how to be in those places. You
have to learn how to access them, and it happens.
If you train only perfect form and you don't train those extreme ranges and you don't have control though, when it's going to happen, you're going to get injured. It's how to approach it. So it's not an extreme that it's going to be an easy process. For me, there's exercise that I do, it takes me 3-4 years to go to those ranges. You got to have patience. It's not going to, like a gym, I'm going to do a bicep curl and in a month or two I'm going to see my veins and I feel good and I feel strong. No, it's going to be frustrating, you know. And I think most people don't really develop because of that, because we are not meant to live in that comfort zone. So back to you.
Yeah, so when it comes to knees over toes, guy, and all these methods, even back to Weka method for a second, I think they're doing something great. I think that they're bringing alternative training methods to the world. You're starting to see sleds in almost every gym in America, which didn't exist before. Now, I'm an athletic performance coach. I've been using sleds with my athletes for years. You could ask our videographer here, like backward sled walks, lateral sled walks, crossover sled walks, go to sled walks, because I understood the importance of dragging or moving in different patterns with weight, and there's only so much you can do in the gym. When working with a barbell, you're stuck in that sagittal linear plane. Kettlebells, oh, okay, now I can start playing with dumbbells. I can also play around like kettlebells, but any sort of machines, even like bench press, pull downs, they're very like, okay, shoulder beats back, my rib cage flare. This is the only way to do it. And when
Which is an art for itself, for sure. Yeah, powerlifting. No disrespect, it's amazing,
right,
but
it's amazing.
yeah.
But the bench pressing powerlifting technique is for bench pressing. It's not for throwing a punch or having complete scapular
That's
protractions.
something I talk about a lot when I see fighters do bench presses.
Right.
And I asked, how is this going to be transferred for jiu-jitsu or boxing?
Right.
It's not.
It's not.
Your scapula is stuck. It's no way in hell in jiu-jitsu you're going to do this movement.
Right.
No in hell. If you know what you're doing, you're not going to just try to push somebody with your
Right.
hand straight. When you punch, you have to use your serratus. It's called the boxer's muscle
Yep.
for a reason. You know what I mean? So if it's not working in a movement you want to improve, so why? Boxer doesn't, Tyson Fury, the heavyweight, he's padded, you know what I mean? He doesn't train in order to look he trains to have a better a better punch. Everything comes from the leg to the hip, so he doesn't have big shoulders, big muscular shoulders. Doesn't I think he doesn't.
Heavyweight, right?
Yeah, heavyweight. So that's why I'm going to heavyweight, because most heavyweights have muscles. Most of his opponents are big black guys, that's very muscular. He's Irish, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So for sure, you don't need that. So why train that and focus that if you want to be better at that? You're gonna look better, right? Most people are gonna say, "You're a fighter. You don't look like a fighter." When the other guy is full of steroids and pumped and that, but it doesn't matter, You train for performance, not for aesthetics.
So I'm always performance over aesthetics, especially in the ball sport world. There's a lot of concepts of what we call off-season, on-season.
Sure.
So like if I have one of my athletes, he's like, "Hey man, I want to do X, Y, Z. I want to bench press." No problem. Off-season, you could bench press, you can squat, you can lunge, you can do whatever you want. Then as
That's
we
the
get
time for it.
and once again, bench pressing is still building strength. It's not like like I remember a lot of times when I meet like calisthenics people who are like front lever, back lever, handstand. They're like, "I don't want fake muscles." I'm like, hold up, muscle is muscle. In fact, if someone can bench press 150 kilo, you teach him how to punch, he'll have a decent punch. If he wants to master the punch and get into a ring, I'd suggest that he works specifically on the punch. And like I saw the WEC version on the Bosu ball of like explosive bench press.
You have to learn to do weight
the movement
for
part.
your feet,
Right.
one foot to another through your hips. It's mechanism you have
Right.
to learn, because it's not going to be from your hand.
Right.
It's going to be from here.
Right.
You have to have very loose hands, like noodles with weights in the hands. So when it snaps, this is hard, but this has to be very, very soft. It's not like slapping somebody, you know what I mean? It's different. It's like throwing a ball, for example. It's less like throwing, but it's more like grabbing a ball, because grabbing a ball, this has to be loose. You can't have to be stiff, You have to be very, very loose, and in the end, have to be stiff. This is a way to teach boxing. Sometimes a punch is switching one tennis ball to another, but not throwing, grabbing, you know what I mean? It's a nice way to do it. But again, WAC method, the way it's nice to I give him respect, because that's why I say that, because in the end he I don't think he invented the way, but the approach and the influence he made on other people is the reason you can give him that respect for like a method. For me, I have my own method, but I feel it's crazy calling it a method. Maybe I will be his age, 54, 55, and still sprinting and doing those kind of things. Maybe I can call it a method, you know. But this is transfer for everything. So if this is at least a part of your training, and making sure that every step you're doing, you're more connected and understanding, and really getting there, and your athletes as well, think about it, they're more aware of everything they're doing. Like I think that's the biggest influence, and this is the hardest thing to do with people more than anything, because most people train 2 times, 3 times a week, don't want to think about how they move more than that. They want to do this, feel good about themselves, having that pump, having those endorphins and whatnot, dopamine, but yeah.
Everything I think what we're both saying and agreeing on is everything you do is going to carry over. There's nothing wrong with strength training. There's nothing wrong with doing whatever you're doing, but make sure that it's very open-minded. Make sure that you're hitting every movement pattern. Make sure that you're exploring locomotive things, motion, and not just movements. Meaning, like if a bench press is a very very isolated movement, whereas a rotational, let's say like a rotational landmine press, you're focusing on a movement pattern. So make sure you're combining both. Building. If you take a power lifter or someone who's been training in the gym for 10 years, bodybuilding style, it's not a waste of time. In fact, he's going to have a solid base of strength. So when you do teach him his movement patterns, he or she has the potential to be a phenomenal athlete. Back to knees over toes guy for a second. I'm happy that these now sleds are available for everybody, and I'm happy that he's encouraging to explore movements. But I think a little flaw with the system is that all these methodologies say, hey, but you can get our equipment for only $9.99. So like knees over toes, you have to slant board squat, you have to sled walk, you have to this, you ATG, you have to glute ham raise. These are great exercises. They've been around forever. External rotation has been around forever. Chin ups have been around forever. You didn't like patent it. You didn't invent it, but and then you're like, oh, you have to buy my special pull-up bar. No, you don't. And same with WEC method. So much respect for that. I just was watching his like the Asian like people who like do all this stuff, and it's like
I forgot the name.
you don't need a special landmine attachment. You don't need a special like barbell that twists that way. You don't need a special WEC plate. You just need nothing. In fact, if you go back way before these methods exist, our tribal warrior ancestors were wecking method before WEC existed. They were just naturally doing it. It's kind of the lack of movement that forced us, the lack of movement plus Western society forcing us into these fixed positions that made us need all this equipment to fix it in the first
to
place.
learn how to move and learn how to do things that we're supposed to do every day on a daily basis, and not going to the gym, take the elevator to run in a treadmill, which for me is always crazy when I go to the gym. And I usually, for me, no, I go to the gym because I like part of the equipment. They have a nice sled there with wheels and something like with wheels and like gear, different gears. I love it, and a few things that they invented there, and I love. Like they have a climber as well, and a salt bike, and things that year 2 years ago, seeing this in Israel, no way, man.
Yeah.
I lived in LA 4 years, and there you see the mixture of things, and even then you don't see a lot. It's a new thing that you see, like the CrossFit and the Western gym binding together.
Right.
And I think it's good, but again, most people are still focusing on how they look and how aesthetics, and even CrossFit, which I think in many ways
I think it started the like functional training mindset.
it's
Focus-
but
it's so flawed.
again, I have nothing against CrossFit. I don't have a lot for CrossFit because I don't think it's a method.
Right.
And I don't think the one that invented it meant for this to be a method. It's supposed to be a business model.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's a system that masters nothing. But again, if you can be a good trainer, and I never did a lot of CrossFit, so who am I to say? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I did weightlifting and I did a bit of CrossFit, but I think you can be amazing in everything that you do. It doesn't matter which method, but you have to really focus on base and pushing weights and barbells and those movements. It's even the gym. I don't think there's more injuries in the gym than CrossFit. I think it's pretty much the same.
Yeah.
A lot of people trying to add strength and dysfunctions. That's what you see a lot. Because everybody as an athlete, in your journey, I'm sure you've been through that, making your mistakes,
Yeah.
But if you don't understand it and you continue doing that bad things and your body is hurt if you're training, and you're continuing because of, I'm going to the gym because of that girl, or because of that atmosphere, or going to CrossFit because of the guys and the girls, and it's nice, and the community, because that's what it's all about in the end, How many people are gonna do this when it's rain outside, but nobody's looking, and really work on the things that's gonna improve them feeling better, and it's not looking cool? And who am I to say? Again, I do a lot of cool things on Instagram to attract people, and inspire people. But I think everything has to be that base.
Yeah.
And, if you don't have that base, even in martial arts, you're gonna learn that in the end. And I think movement, which is amazing, it's part of what they're lacking again in that they cannot. Not everybody can do those kind of things.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. You know what I mean? Even in weightlifting, not everybody. A lot of people can do it, and a lot of inspiring people are doing amazing things. And oh my God! But I don't think it's for the general public.
Yeah.
And I think you have to be, as a fitness trainer first, help people besides athletes. And I think that's, for me, today, I find it's much more inspiring to help people, not athletes. And
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And the athletes, it's amazing, but it's a performance and it's entertainment. It's not helping somebody that, man, he's suffering from pain 3-4 years and nobody helped him. And like, I have this client that has a chronic tibialis posterior. You want to hold it?
No, it's fine. It's good.
Impingement and inflammation for years, and nobody tried to help. But nobody ever talked about how she walks and stand. Nobody talked about strengthening this, and this, and no, nothing. The simplest exercise, the calf raises with a ball and squeezing the ball, which is that, like with a rubber band, just doing this with holes and heel dances, certain things that just gonna improve that. Just walking barefoot at the house, and she's been only two times, and only the second time I gave her a program. And she's already feeling better from massaging with a ball and nothing. You know what I mean? I have a lot of cases, but this was exciting for me because some cases, you get more closer. Some cases, but nobody ever tried to really teaches people how to be better. When somebody falls, they treat the injury. Nobody, wait, how did you fall? How did this ever happen from the beginning? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How making sure this is not going to happen again? Nobody wants us to be healthy. It's crazy to think about it, but they teach us how to need Western medicine. Kupat Cholim in Hebrew, it's kupa, register, sick. In the end,
Wow. Wow. In Hebrew, the medical clinics here are called sick registries.
Yeah, for sure. It's
Hopefully
crazy.
you never have to see them, but when you do, they make you rely on them.
But you don't really need them in the end, only for emergencies. But how, in the process, us as influencers, and fitness trainers that want to help other people, gonna help in that process, in that chain, because we are in that place. Most trainers, because the certification, getting that, and it's not, it's, you don't have to be the smartest or the most talented, and a lot of coaches there know how to talk a lot and market, and they have 1,000 and 10,000 and 100,000, and if they buy them or not, I don't know. There's one guy, I'm not gonna say the name, but he says the people can eat pizza every day, and he's very famous in Israel, and everybody knows him because the Misrad HaBriut, the
health ministry banned him because he's not a nutritionist.
I forget about the name, because if they know, they know. You know what I mean? And so everybody with this promise, for me, 90 days, you're going to feel better, you're going to look better. And some of them are trainers that I know that are good, and they know what they're doing.
Right.
But
they don't train that way. So many trainers, they don't train their clients the way that they do it themselves, because it's easier to just progress in the bench press every time, do some bicep curls, say you're feeling good, give me your credit card, go home. And hey, we still got to make money. Like, marketing is good, creating equipment is good. Geva here is one of the pioneers in bringing alternative training equipment to Israel, slant boards, big toe adduction bands, right? All sorts of this is good. We have to make money, and trainers are allowed to make money, and we're in an overcapitalized market where there's thousands of trainers. When I did my course, I teach the course now. There's so many people who are doing it just to, they say, oh, I heard training is good money. But you are the step from the client to you're the in-between step to the doctor, with the goal of that client never getting to the doctor. Now, I want to go back one step about CrossFit. I think CrossFit's awesome. I think it brought a large variety of more functional training equipment to the regular mainstream body, machine gym for people. The environment is awesome. The fact that people are like, oh, I get to work out with 20 other people and push ourselves is sick. The gym culture never managed, the bodybuilding gym culture never managed to create that. But here's the flaw. They did something wonderful. They make every workout a competition. And that's the problem, because you should not be pushing your limits in every workout. In fact, I would say 70-80% of our workouts, we're focusing on movement patterns, maybe improving external rotation a bit, maybe adding a kilo there, maybe improving a technique. But we have competitions once a year, right? We just were in Vienna in Austria, so we had a competition once a year for 3 days. CrossFit, every single day they're competing. So you're competing in movements like the clean and jerk, which is never meant to be a high rep movement. It's supposed to be a 1 rep max. You put the weight down, maybe you do it again in 10 minutes, and you go home, right? You compete in weightlifting. So they took all these philosophies, made it in a very, very high competitive environment, high rep, poor technique, and that's the flaw. That's where clean and jerk snatch, great movements, but you have to earn the right to barbell snatch. If you want to barbell snatch for fun, great. If you want to learn how to weightlift because you want to compete in weightlifting, weightlifting's a sport. But just the barbell snatch, 50 reps for fun, how many students have you taught how to barbell snatch?
Lately, I don't work
None.
with almost nobody.
Exactly.
Those kind of, and again, I have maybe one or two guys that I work with them about
Yeah.
a bit, but no.
Yeah, and
No,
I work
no.
with like football players. This like
Yeah.
clean and jerks are supposed to be the bread and butter of football players, but I get to these guys like Sean. I have to learn how to power clean because like my coach said, I just 1 second. What's your squat look like? And they can't even get to a basic deep air squat. No way. And you want to learn how to power clean, man?
They're trying to wait to squat heavy, but nobody can even stand on one leg and
Yeah.
do even one pistol squat from 90 degrees.
Yeah.
For me, it's the base before you even try the heavy
Yeah.
squat. And I talked with a few trainers that some of them even argued. They say, "Oh, this is a different strength, and this is, you know, if you squat 200k or let's talk about the bigger guys, 250, 300k." It's if you don't have to pistol squat for even one rep,
Yeah.
for me it's crazy. They don't have the ability because
Yeah.
again, back squats. It's how important is a back squat
Right.
in
A loaded-
functional,
like a loaded bar,
loaded
yeah.
back squat. How
Right.
functional is it really?
Right.
For everyday life, for example.
Right.
How many people ever loaded something on their backs and try to nobody front squat, goblet squat is a whole different
Right.
story. You know what I mean?
Right.
So this is functional. So again, it's not bad, but let's talk about
Medium, yeah.
vertebrae
Compression.
pressure, compression, and people will say this research, science goes in different ways. But
I stopped believing in science a long time ago.
one of my students, my clients, is a very famous scientist in Israel.
Nice.
He runs all the
Clinics, research.
all the labs
Peer-reviewed
in Tel
research.
HaShomer.
Yeah.
He's one of the head of scientists in cancer and mRNA. So even he because he's a good scientist, he knows that in the end you cannot say something for 100%. In the end, in science, you eliminate options in order to get to the truth. You don't say, "Oh, this is the proof. Or this is 100% right." No, prove to me why what I'm doing is wrong. I can prove in many ways why shoes or those kind of things are not going to be functional, and you know what I mean. I see the proof every day that I work with what's happening. I don't need anybody else to tell me that. And yes, science will say, all right, personal experience. It's not something that you can measure
Right.
for as research, because you know what I mean. Everybody dismissed it because your personal experience. It's not. But I teach 15 years, and I saw many trainers, and you see it more and more and more and more and more, and like you can close your eyes on, but that's the truth. And I'm not against evidence-based science, but I think if you stuck there, you're not gonna go to the optimal way that how you train, and your clients are gonna just go to a certain point, but never to the optimal, and that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, if it works, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If you're working with someone as a coach or trainer and your method is working, please continue doing what you're doing. Worry less about the peer-reviewed research, because many times the peer-reviewed research can be flawed. They took 100 random people. One person didn't sleep. One person did sleep. One person had a coffee before. One person didn't. One person's shape. One person's not. And they make scientific data off these, when the reality, we're what's called in Hebrew anshe shetach. We're in the field. We're with the people. We're with the athletes, and we're seeing what's working and what's not. And if you get too obsessed with the metrics and the statistics, and science proved that, we'll round up and we'll get back to this, but physios and coaches always coming to us and saying, prove this barefoot thing is true. Sorry, I don't have to prove anything. I mean, you can look at my feet, and you can look at the fact that I kept on hurting myself until I switched to minimalist footwear. But
Disprove it first of all, and
Exactly.
then let's talk. First, disprove it.
Yeah.
I can prove it's easy because you have to be. I'm not going to say stupid, but I'm going to stay with the head to the wall and not understand how this is going to be healthier than. Again, sometimes using orthodox midrasim. How do you say it?
insoles.
Insoles.
Orthopedic insoles.
Yeah, it's not bad. You need some
place.
guys, some athletes need them 100%.
Yeah.
The champion of the world in marathons, he does 150 for 42k.
Yeah.
It's insane. It's not
Right.
the speed you're gonna do barefoot 100%.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna argue about that. Your foot is not built for this kind of performance.
Yeah.
So you need the mixture, but you cannot just rely on those shoes, on those insoles, on that you have. So for your guys as well, they use shoes. They're not good for them, yeah, but they have to have those shoes.
They're what I'd call sport-specific equipment, like a
They
football
have
helmet.
that, they 100%, but until it's going to be invented something better. But let's hope. But you train them barefoot, and the warm proprietors, I see it's barefoot, and their foot are strong enough in order to at least stop the damage and improve the strength of their feet to the maximum. That's why your athletes are doing good. They're going to the Olympics, something like that.
Let's
right?
go.
Yeah, they're good, and you're connected, and they feel the difference, and they trust you, and it's part
Yeah.
of that because you show them something that other people usually cannot.
Scoff at, yeah.
They just don't because they're not willing to experiment. In the end, we're crazy scientists, and this is my place.
Mad
is
scientists, yeah.
It's you bring guinea pigs, and it's a very well controlled experiment for everybody. If somebody thinks they're doing 1%, so I think they're lying to themselves because it's always and
There's always room for growth.
always and always when somebody succeeded, like you feel, oh my God, he succeeded. Like, dude, for 15 years, I'm a sports, I'm martial arts for 30 years and doing sports probably all my life, and it's always like, I did it. It worked. Like, oh shit! Like, I can't believe it. And it's like I doubt myself every time because I think when you're sure your method is good, you're not really gonna adapt in real life events because you'll be stuck in your way and no, this is the way and it's gonna be better. But you have to sometimes change. You have to go back and say, this exercise is not good for you. You need to do this before. Although you did this for a week and you thought you felt good, no, you don't feel good with exercise. You go back because sometimes it's hard for you to decide. Wait, did I give you the wrong exercise? Nobody's perfect. Sometimes you cannot find the right solution 100%. So you have to see and experiment and decide who you're going to experiment with. And you know what I mean? As much as you have more clients, you have more ability to have more experience in certain fields, in certain areas. If you just stick to one thing, at least be a master at it. You have to have your niche. And most people have a niche that, again, like we said before, sticks where they feel they're talented. They don't push themselves, so how they're going to push, in the end, their trainees to be the maximum if they're not pushing themselves? They're pushing themselves to places they feel comfortable and gives their ego, like, oh, I'm good, I'm strong, I'm this, and I'm going to the right direction. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to finish this part where we're speaking about different training philosophies, but I want to touch upon an important point that Geva said. When you push yourself constantly, and I don't just mean adding weight to the bar and the bench press, but constantly challenge your way of thinking and your way of training and your way of movement, it carries over to everything in your life. And it's kind of something I got in the army. Like, you're on a Masai, you're on this ruck, you have 40 kilo on your back from weight, and it's pouring rain, and the rain's up to your knees, and you're suddenly like, wow, I'm really uncomfortable right now. And you embrace the discomfort. It's kind of like maybe David Goggins style, but just saying from my personal army experience. After that, little things don't bother you anymore. So when you're always evolving and growing in your physical movement training, life is just easier because you understand how to learn and absorb and reflect different situations. I want to jump into keto, and something we spoke a lot about exploring for the past 30, 40 minutes. So ketogenic, right? Ketogenic lifestyle or diets are another method of the dietary lifestyle. Now, one of the reasons as a trainer I've explored, I've done paleo and I've done Atkins and I've intermittent fast and I've tried everything so I can understand, how it affects me so I can teach it about others. But one of the reasons why I like ketosis is it reminds me a lot of the barefoot world. We're saying mainstream science, you're wrong. And everything you're telling us about carbohydrates and everything you're telling us about fats and everything you're telling us, everything, food pyramids and sugars and seed oils, everything you're telling us in the mainstream data, American Institute of Federation of Health,
LDL cholesterol
is all wrong.
That was proven, by the way, the LDL cholesterol. In the 60s, which specific food company paid that scientist money. Yeah. I don't remember exactly the year, so I think for 2015, 2016, it got discovered, and it was in the 1670s. And from back then, they said that bad cholesterol, LDL, is going to make a heart attack. But I talk with doctors about that as well. You cannot take two people that one is healthy and eating. You forget about, you're not eating only meat but healthy and no heart attacks in the family and that, and one guy is obese and they have the same cholesterol. You can say, oh, this is bad for both of them in the same way. No, it's crazy. You know what I mean? Part of the reason LDL exists in order to move the fat in our veins, in our blood vessels. So if you eat a lot of fatty foods, you're gonna have probably, at least in the adjustment in the beginning, which could be a few months, can be a few years for some people until you're metabolic healthy. And metabolic healthy means that your liver can uh, 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 use metabolize or use fat as energy and carbohydrate as energy. Ketogenic diet basically is being an awesome burning fat machine, which my liver burns fat as energy and less carbohydrates. And as an athlete, I can sometimes add more carbohydrates because my body goes through that fast, so it's different. But it's mainly, there's a few ways, we're not going to really go deep to the different kinds of keto, but it's basically your body is in an emergency state, and because of that, it manufactures ketones. And ketones, it's a molecule that's more rich in energy and gives gives you more energy than you feel on carbohydrates. It's like feeling on rocket fuel. I started with that because of bipolar, which a friend, I was in a bad place and I didn't really know what to do, and pills was not doing nothing for me, and things were getting worse. And he told me about that. This is bipolar as well, and tried this and showed me the research and said, well, it makes sense. My gut bacteria, my gut flora, everything is connected, and this is our second brain, and I understood that. And once I started on that, I started feeling that I'm hormonally, my hormones are more balanced. You know, I feel that most of those diseases were made because of bad nutrition and bad influence from our environment, which is pressure and Israel and military and whatnot. And, you know, I've been a bouncer and see some shit in my life, and this is a whole different story, maybe different podcast only for those kind of things. And this influences, you know.
I'll be in the ice bath.
Yeah, that maybe will be good. But once you go back, reverse engineer, you can say it, you know, go back to the real nutrition, what was before agriculture revolution, you know, 10,000
before they started like mass making wheat and corn and all these things.
Exactly. So real food, and people say, oh, what you're eating is not real. So I try to eat
as long as you get a Cola Zero with your Big Mac, you're good.
Yeah, but again, I'm not against. I eat junk sometimes, and I have my period of times. And
you eat junk? What are you talking about?
Yeah, no. Sometimes I have my periods of times, and I fluctuate, and but I try to keep as healthy as I can, and I'm a human being as well. And I think a lot of ways keto for many people is too extreme, and you need to find what's good for you, and not making sure that making yourself having this food disorder, and you're forcing yourself, and it's a process. And I'm not saying everybody just needs to stop eating carbs and just eating meat and eating eggs, or nobody needs to be just a vegan or just eating fruits. Which is a whole different story for itself. I'm not against vegans, and I tried that as well. I was a raw vegan for a few months. Man, I was ripped, but I just felt weak.
So I think nutrition is exactly like training. There's many philosophies. You don't have to stick to one style. You can kind of mix and match and see what makes you feel good. See what gives you... Forget about getting a six-pack. Forget about how lean you are. Say, am I good? Do I have energy throughout the day? Am I pooping properly? If I'm a woman, am I having...
Pooping is a very important thing, by the way. If you have a lot of farts and you can laugh about it as much as you want, and it smells bad, and you have stomach aches and bloated, you're eating something that's causing that. So listen to your body. He's telling you everything you need to know if you just listen. And again,
We've been told to not listen to our body, because we've been told, for example, you must eat whole wheat bread. You must eat low fat, whatever it is. But if you listen to your body, exactly like bloating, constipation, I work with a lot of female athletes, a lot of times lose their periods when they don't eat enough because they're very lean. That's not functioning. If your body's not getting the basic hormonal things your body naturally does, that's a big, big problem. So I look at health as this big thing. I look at nutrition and health as like, am I sleeping well? Am I eating well? Am I pooping well? Am I breathing well? Is my skin healthy? Is my hair healthy? Is my performance healthy? Am I recovering properly? Am I injury prone? And it ties into this greater picture of holistic health and ancestral living, which is podcast number 3 that we'll do together. But nutrition, so I think that everything we've been taught in the past 30, 40 years of peer-reviewed research and science, it's not just wrong. It's flawed to get us reliant on a system. If I constantly feed you fortified bran flakes and say they're healthy, then you'll be spending more time at the doctor's office so you can pay more money to the system, which will go back to Kellogg's. Whoops, I called it a company. So like ketogenic is another example of, it's not, I mean, yes, it's a high fat diet, it's releasing ketones, which means it's actually a whole different energy system. But what it's actually doing, like a lot of the good dietary protocols out there, is eliminating processed food, is saying stay away from polyunsaturated fats like seed oils, which by the way are probably worse than white sugar for you, right?
Again, people say different things, but
Right.
from I know how I feel. I have psoriasis as well, so for me it was a skin condition as well.
Is that similar to eczema?
It's similar, but
yeah.
it's caused from a leaky gut.
Mm.
So once your gut is harmed, it's because of fiber. By the way, they say fiber is good for you, man.
Right.
Fiber. You know, I
Right.
don't know if I can curse
Individual.
on the podcast, but
That's
but
what we
it
got the
fucks.
editing.
Fiber
Messes
is messes with my gut a lot. Once you treat your gut good and you treat your brain good and you treat all your body and you really think about those kind of things. How many people really think about it? You know, it's like they don't think about their feet, they don't think about their gut. They think about, again, it brings us back to the performance and aesthetics. They think how they look, they don't think how they feel. Nobody trying to do that. They think I will take that pill, at least I will do that, but I will not do this for a year in order to feel good for the rest of my life.
So let's wrap up. Geva, can you tell us where we can find your website, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, what you sell, where we can get you?
Yeah, for sure. So, Sensei Geva Makovsky, I'm sure you will write this down
Big follower,
for
yeah.
them.
We'll put it in the show notes.
I mostly exist on Instagram. My Facebook, work on it a bit less. I have my own products that I sell, but I sell it only for people that really come here to learn.
So there's no like international shipping. It's local. At the
No,
moment.
it's only local. I stopped even selling to other people around Israel. I talked to you about that before. I felt it was not unethical for me when I don't really make sure that they have the knowledge to it. And
like
for
that.
me, online instructions for this kind of things, it's not 100%. And although nothing is 100%, I want to keep it as best as possible. So if you're interested in changing the way you walk and the way you walk and the way you stand and the way you walk and the way you move your body, we'll be happy to help.
Sweet. All right. So Geva, I'm so happy I made it here. We're definitely going to explore episode 2, come to the ice bath in Jerusalem. We have a lot to do. I want to do a training day with you as well. And yeah, that's it. Thanks so much for coming on the show, everybody, and peace out. Have a good one.